Welcome back. It is 15 years since Hotmail, the most popular webmail service on the internet, was launched. We are talking about how this has changed the way we communicate with one another. Kishore, there couldn't be anyone better. 1971, I think, was the time when email officially was started. Almost 40 years since then, and 4 decades of technological advancement. To give us a bit of a perspective as to how the technology behind email has evolved over these decades, both prior to the advent of webmail as well as after that.
Okay, so if you go back to the history of email, email was essentially started as not what we know it as today.
Definitely
it was essentially a method by which a file could be transferred from one location to another.
Or from one computer to another.
Essentially from one location to another is what I would say. So essentially what was being done there was, it's something which was known as UUCP, which is a Unix to Unix copy. So you're saying that between one computer and another computer, we are transferring a certain amount of data. What the contents of that data were entirely up to you. So people started using it as, okay, I'm going to write a little message for the person that I'm sending this to, and do this UUCP transfer, and the file would go to the other location. So interestingly enough, email addresses as we know them today have also gone through a dramatic change. In the beginning, there were email addresses which were just numbers. So my first email ID was actually not my name at a service.com.
Right.
It was actually just a series of numbers. And we've come a very, very long way from there.
Right.
In fact, the story that I've heard is that the idea for the email came from university students in the US who used to work long nights and leave computers on with the screen with something typed on the screen, so that the friends who will come in the morning will take a look at the screen and identify the message. It was the crudest form of, this was the pigeon equivalent of email, you can say, before it actually became one of the most organized phenomena on the net.
Right. Priyanka, there is something which we need to understand. Madhavan was talking about Sabir Bhatia and his contribution, and the sheer irony that it required an Indian to understand that anything which is delivered free, they would have a lot of takers for it. But if you look at internet, you'll find that there are a lot of people who made tremendous impact, made a lot of money, and then faded away, who have not been able to come up with something to replicate what they did. Sabir Bhatia possibly was also one of them. Why do you think this is the reason? What is there so unique about the internet that you have not been able to find people that who have been able to work successfully over a sustained period of time?
I think that the first mover advantage is one big thing, and the second thing is that whatever is there has to be there at the right time. So Hotmail came to us at the right time, and for example today social networks are here at the right time. There was a time when .coms had come up and then gone bust, and now actually is the right time for them. And they had gone bust earlier because the market was really not ready, at least in India, and e-commerce was not that viable because the internet penetration was not that much either. Now a very large chunk of our population, at least literate population, is online. They are transacting online, they are buying online, and a lot of stuff gets done online. So if you see whatever business idea is there, it has to be there at the right time, as well as it has to be unique enough for people to actually get onto it. Now, just yesterday, Google has launched another social network, which everybody has heard about, I think. It's barely been a day. And I would say that again, like Madhavan said, email is the king. Google is making a very big, it's a big advantage for Google because they're using the mail network to form a social network, which will be bigger than anything that I think Facebook has ever managed.
Okay.
So it's the right time, it's the right moment, the right unique idea. I think it will catch on.
Kishore,
I think I'll just add one more thing to this. What we're missing here is the only thing that's constant is change. When you talk about technology, there's a very simple thing that we say in technology: if it exists, it's obsolete. So the point is that yes, I can come up with a great idea. The idea is for today, and I need another idea for tomorrow. And this idea of today may or may not sustain itself. It depends on how it gains acceptance. So, for example, today I hardly know anyone who's still using Hotmail. So, while we're talking at the end of 15 years of...
studies say that it is still the largest email
there are statistics.
Statistics and statistics and statistics.
Well, it's actually what we say is lies, but and then there's statistics. The issue here is that how do you define the largest?
Right.
If you define it by the number of accounts that I have, how many of those accounts are actually active? Now, it's active accounts that you need to...
I had a Hotmail account which I don't use anymore. I don't even remember anything about even to be able to access it. And I'm sure all of us
so today, the new...
But possibly Hotmail would be listing me as one of its
active
users.
accounts.
No,
yes.
Although it's, I must add that in my case, my Hotmail account, after not being used for a while, died a natural death, and because the company did not allow me to revive it more than once, and then I lost it. Now it was reborn. As you know, Microsoft is now having a site called live.com, so you have Hotmail is effectively being reincarnated as live.com.
Madhavan, there is one question which I need to ask you. What is email being used for now? Kishore was saying some time back that initially when the concept of email was first thought, way back several decades ago, it was basically to transfer a file from one location to another. Very well put. When email came, early 90s is the time when actually, along with internet service providers, we started having, more of email. People had greater access to email, and which completely changed after the launch of Hotmail with webmail services. What is it primarily being used for? Only is it to launch campaigns? Is it to share jokes? Is it to generate support for lost causes or building causes, or official communication? How would you look at the entire scenario?
I think it's important to understand email not just as email but as internet-based emails,
right,
which itself has two innings or phases, you can say. First phase was before Hotmail. You had service providers like AOL or
in India you had VSNL,
CompuServe or VSNL that gave you access to email.
Prior to Hotmail you had only VSNL in India.
Yeah, but the significance of Hotmail is for one more reason, which is that the moment something comes on the web and is read on the web as opposed to simply downloaded from the web, what you have is the phenomenon called hyperlink. You can click on anything inside the email and it takes you to some other place. It can take you to another website to see a site or anything. So today, if you look at it, I can go on and on and on about the various utilities of email, but let me just list a few for you. First of all, the instant messaging has been now embedded within the browser by players like Gmail.
Right.
So you now have, not only can you email, but if that person is logged on at that point, you can chat instantly with that person. The other utility is the fact that if you're buying an air ticket or if you're buying a movie ticket, the printout of that becomes a ticket. Today, the entire airline industry, the no-frills airlines, run on the back of email. Some movie theaters will accept an SMS message on your mobile phone as a booking validation for e-transaction, but for airlines it remains a printout. So the printout has become, the email printout has become the complete ticketing muscle for the entire airline industry now. So you check in on that. And the other thing is your electricity bills. I personally, if you look at me, and everybody can do it now, electricity bills, your own internet bills, your water bills can be paid online, and the entire receipt system is linked to your email. So the email has much more depth and utility. And last but not the least, right now with Gmail having become the major, definitely it's a front in terms of, we can quibble on the numbers of Gmail and Hotmail users, but in terms of sheer development of the email with the number of features added into the email, Gmail and Google are the leading phenomena. And the key point is that now you can watch your YouTube video inside the Gmail. So you can watch a video, you can listen to a song, you can have a conversation, all loaded on top of what in the good old days was simple email. So we have come a very long way from the Unix to Unix computer system.
You know, Priyanka, from what Madhavan is saying, that email possibly has been the single largest factor behind people, you know, beginning to communicate with each other in a completely revolutionary manner compared to the time before the existence of email. What he is also saying, that it has also changed significantly the manner in which we conduct, in which we maintain our personal businesses and our personal requirements and services. Would you agree with this?
Yeah, very much. Email is now our online home. For me, it is. You know, I may have multiple email accounts on various service providers, half of which I have forgotten and never used and are now defunct also. But ultimately, everything gets routed to one email address. That is my, you can say, a pipe through which I, you know,
that is your lifeline.
Filter all my information, everything, all my communication, whether it is with friends, family, or you know, even professional communication. I map my other professional email IDs onto one primary email ID which I use. And even for my financial transactions, like Madhavan said, for entertainment's sake, if you're booking movies, if you're doing any shopping, whatever it is, everything comes onto email now. And of course, the basic email feature, which is that you can exchange information, you can send information in files as attachments, is always there. You know, whatever I have to send, it's always possible through email. So that is why we now have email accessible not only on the browser, we also have it on the phone.
Right.
We have it on the new gadgets like iPad. So it's now something which is needed everywhere, and every social network that you will see also ultimately has one sort of a messaging mechanism or an email mechanism, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Flickr, whatever it is.
Right.
Now Facebook has also given us a messaging mechanism and has also provided us with email accounts.
Right.
So, and then there are you know, a lot of other things, other, you can say, different kind of email IDs, because some of the email IDs belong to groups. So you send one mail to one email ID and it goes out to multiple people in that list. That is one very big I think attribute which a lot of social networks do not have even today. Group messaging and selective messaging. So, you know, most social networks cater to maybe one-to-one messaging, one-to-one private messaging, or broadcasting. But email is the king, which lets us decide who should get my particular message and who should not. And I think that's a, you know, that's a very good way to manipulate my online home.
You put it very well. You know, we'll continue this conversation after a short break. One of the most perplexing aspects of webmail services is its economics. Hundreds of millions of users use these services free. So where are the resources coming from? We need to understand this, and we'll try to make sense of this jigsaw when we return from this break. Do not go away.